Well, a lot of people have asked me that they've they've thought, gee, you share so much with people that are real personal things, and I've been doing that for in small doses for years in my clinics, because I've found that if I can share a little bit about myself and some of the things that got me to where I am today, and some of the things that are a little bit dark in my life, they're the things that probably created the empathy in me that I have for the horses and for their situation. And I've found that in the clinics, if I can share a little bit of that with people, they sort of think, man, he must trust me on some level, or he wouldn't tell me these things. And that sort of opens things up to where pretty soon they start to kind of share with me a little bit. And you only have 4 days to do a clinic, and so you want to establish a rapport as quick as you can. And people need to know my life is a lot less than perfect, I'll tell you that. And we all have our things to deal with, and it sort of puts us on a level playing field, and then we can go to work.
It seems like your message in the movie was you treat other people right, you treat horses right, you treat yourself right, then everything will work out in the end. How would you tell someone that they should treat a horse? How should they? I guess what I'm asking is when you're telling someone, here's how you should treat a horse if you want the horse to treat you right in return. How do you go about telling people this is how you need to treat the horses other people in order for it to work out for you?
Well, really, you think of it as being a mutual respect, and that's true whether you're talking about horses or people. And it's funny, here we are in the Cowboy Hall of Fame, and my teacher, Tom Dorrance, got honored here, and he told me at one time, he said, Buck, don't treat them like they are, treat them how you'd like them to be. And at the time I was pretty young, and I thought, I wonder if he's talking about horses or people. I thought it must be one or the other, and then come to find out it was both. And so you're approaching the horse with trying to put yourself in his situation and trying to understand him, where he's coming from. And to the horse is trying to save his life. He might be a little bit troubled, and it might just be real inconvenient for the owner, and they might want to be frustrated at him, but it's not that to the horse. He's trying to protect himself. And so you got to get him sure of you. You got to get him confident that you don't mean him any harm. And first thing you know, then you have a chance at getting something accomplished with him that might carry from one day to the other. But again, that's true with kids. You're not going to impose your will on kids and make it happen, but you can fix it up and let it happen. And Ray Hunt used to say you'd like to have your idea become his, and that's kind of what you might think of. And yet at first, just being real about it, it's not always going to be fuzzy and warm. Sometimes there's going to be some trouble you have to work through, but you don't want to stay in trouble, and that's the deal. And some people, they'll tend to want to stay in trouble. They fight their way through life, whether it's with horses or whatever it might be. And I'm trying to get them out of trouble. And eventually, when the horse gets confident, then things start to kind of come through for you.
The movie finishes with a troubled horse, a horse that isn't able to be saved, to be helped. How many of these horses do you come across, and is it always the owners? You mentioned that the owner had some problems that she needed to work through, and it magnified in the horse. Is that usually the way it is when you find these horses that can't be?
Well, it is that, and that horse, frankly, was sort of an anomaly because of the fact that he had been oxygen deprived when he at birth, and the mare died, so that made it worse yet because he had missed out on all of the amazing things that happen between a mare and foal in terms of a youngster learning. And then the fact that the person that raised him, she didn't know a lot about horses, so she did the best she could. She thought she was doing the best she could, and that's the deal with people. They might have tragic results on their horses, but most of the time they're doing the best they can with what they know. And people will bring a lot of baggage to the table, and it will really kind of foul things up between you and the horse. But I look at the situation with that horse there, and through this documentary, people have gotten a message, and I'd hope that they would, that with this, whether you're going to have horses or you're going to have a dog or you're going to have children, with that comes great responsibility. Not just to feed them and keep a roof over their head, but to teach them right from wrong, to help them learn how to get along in life and thrive. And if you don't do that as a caretaker or a parent, the results are tragic. And I look at that and I think, there's a pretty good chance through all the millions of people that'll see this film that people are going to get the point to that and realize the lesson to be learned about responsibility. And frankly, that horse in his short life may accomplish more than 100 horses that grew old and died of old age.
Was the movie with Robert Redford your first experience with working in a movie atmosphere?
Yeah, it really was my first movie experience. I'd done a few TV commercials over the years back in the day when I was doing rope tricks for a living. But that was really my first and only movie experience. But what a way to start, doing a Redford movie. And so it was a great experience. It's sort of like anything. It's a great place to visit. I wouldn't really want to live there.
Was that what helped you get this documentary going, or did someone come to you, or did you go to someone and mention that this would be something you wanted to do?
No, it really wasn't my idea. Because, I just spend my life driving down the road, riding horses and helping people. But the lady that directed it, Cindy Meal, she had been to some of my clinics, and we were having lunch one day at the McGinnis Meadows Ranch in Montana, a guest ranch that I do clinics at. And she said, Buck, there is such a great message in what you're doing in these clinics that I wish that everybody could get a piece of this, that they could see this and enjoy this, and not just horse people, but people that may never have a horse, I know could really relate to you and what you're saying. And so she said, would you mind if I looked into maybe doing a documentary on this? And she just kind of caught me on the right day. And I said, no, why don't you just get after it? And then she looked like she had just swallowed a fly by accident, because then she knew she had to do it. And 9 times out of 10, I'd have probably said no. Because, someone is they're doing a film on your life, and man, if they don't do a good job, it's kind of hard to make it go away. But I trusted her, we were friends, and I knew that she wouldn't disappoint me. And she didn't. She did a great job.
So from the beginning, was the entire plan to parallel with your childhood and with what you learned through that, with what you teach?
Well, I think, without telling the story of my background, where I came from, and sort of the trials and tribulations that I've been through with my life, you really don't understand the whole picture. So it was really necessary that there was some background laid there, because people need to understand how I got to where I am with the horses and why I feel the way I do about the horses and people. And so, and it's such a neat thing that I think people, they'll see this, and there'll be some people that'll be watching this that have pretty troubled lives right now. And they might look at this and think, you know what, it doesn't always turn out bad. There's so much in there about taking responsibility and not blaming everybody else. And there's a point in everyone's life where you're no longer going to be allowed that free pass. You can't blame your mom and dad or your aunt and uncle or your grandma and grandpa anymore. You have to own that yourself. And if you do, it's a step in the right direction. And for me, when I was a little guy, my childhood was taken from me, and I couldn't do anything about it. But the one thing people can never take away from you is your free will, your ability to make decisions, be it right or wrong. That's the part where you have to step up and do your own deal.
You finally seem to came full circle with the movie part, at least when we went back to Robert Redford
Well, to me, at Sundance, of course, I'd never done anything like that before, and the first screening we went to, I had a pretty good idea that it was gonna touch the hearts of people watching this, because the response was overwhelming, and every one of them were sold out, and people were walking out of the theater crying and were really moved by it. And I thought, her intent all along was to be able to have an appeal to everyone, not just horse people, but everyone, and to show that there really is a kinship between all of us, regardless of where our lives have taken us. And I knew pretty early on that she was probably going to win something from this, and sure enough, she did. And if you had to pick one category to win, the audience award, that's the deal you're looking for, really.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.